What's up, everybody? Sleek Shadow here, and I know everybody has seen the Twid and is pretty excited for Prismatic. But for right now, you really can't do anything about it but just get hype. Today, I want to focus on something we can work on, and that is the quote unquote Red Border Bonanza. And basically, what's going on with the Red Border Bonanza is that if you do seasonal activity, you're going to get a red border. And you're going to be able to get a red border for each activity each day. So these are all the activities you want to do. Mission Avalon is also, I believe it's the Excalibur mission. So you might want to drop that in there too as well and get some of those extra perks. But there's some good stuff. And I know that it's pretty random, but resources are limited. Just between just getting all the stuff, you're not going to be able to craft every weapon unless you play this game a ton and have a ton of resources saved, which Destiny 2 is actually not that great at saving resources. So I actually picked out a few weapons you might want to keep a lookout, and I would suggest to craft these first. Maybe if you have like some personal weapon you want to do, like do that, but these weapons I feel like are going to help you kind of get through the final shape a little bit easier, especially since Prismatic is coming out and we're going to be able to mix subclasses. So subclass things, I'm not exactly sure how the mixing is going to work, but we have something, a little bit of something for everybody. So, all right, let's get into it. The first weapon I want to talk about here is this bad boy right here, the Airmite. And you're going to find this at the Season of the Witch missions, the Season of the Witch missions. It's a high impact frame pulse rifle. I'm not usually into these really, because the firing rate is slower than a lot of them. But this one in particular, I really like it. If you're able to craft it, you're gonna look for some certain perks. If you don't have the ability to craft Witch Queen speed right now, do Witch Queen. Get the craftability. That's how you unlock crafting. You have to do the Witch Queen campaign. But yeah. So we're looking at some perks right here for this, and you're definitely going to want heal clip. Heal clip is important. All right, so you're going to want heal clip. Like, I would suggest this is probably the only thing in the slot, unless you're running some other things that might be a little bit like on a Healy side, especially if you're like a warlock or something, or you're running like some tanky build. But keep in mind that we're going to be a little bit under leveled, and heal clip, basically what it does is after you kill a certain amount of, like you kill an enemy, it gives you like a percentage back of the heal when you reload the weapon. So this is going to be good when you're in a tight situation. So maybe you killed like 3 or 4 enemies with the Airmite, and then boom, you can reload it and you'll have some health back in there. And we're looking at Reservoir Burst. It's just going to, when your clip is full, it just gives you extra damage, and the more damage you have, the more heals you're going to be able to do, because you're putting people down faster and more people, maybe one-shotting instead of having to like 2-shot. So there you go. I think those are pretty good. Of course, you're going to want like Arrowhead Break, because it recoil. Fusion rifles notoriously have a high vertical recoil. You're going to want to keep that in town, like in frame, to keep the recoil pretty much under control. And I would suggest projection fusion, just increase the range. Being able to be in some form of cover and use a special definitely helps. Fusion rifles have underrated range actually, but there is a drop off. So when you have a little bit extra damage and a little bit extra range, it's gonna go a long way. This one is Bria's Love. It's a really underrated scout rifle. It's Void subclass. This is also from Season of the Witch, but I'm telling you, this thing kind of slaps, bro. So what we're thinking about here, basically the whole philosophy when I'm doing like harder things and like campaigns, especially if I'm doing them solo, I want to have enough distance in between myself, make my effective range as greatest distance as possible while inflicting the most damage. So when you're going to get Bria's Love, we're going to be trying to look for distance. And let's look at the perks first. Some people like keep away. I think that's pretty good too. It increases range, right? And this is a scout rifle, so it has decent range already, but to keep the more buffer in between. Sometimes you're able to see shots and duck into cover. That's very important to do. Just not sit there and just be a bullet sponge. I'm gonna suggest that. Maybe if you're into rapid hit, I guess, but I'm not really into that. That's more of like a. I think for this gun, it'd be pretty decent for PvP. I mean, rapid hit's good, but I really think keep away is the way to go with this one. And then I'm gonna go with explosive payload, and remember all these perks are enhanced too once you craft them and get them above a certain level. So you're gonna want to get the enhanced version of these perks. Explosive payload is definitely a lot better. It keeps distance damage higher, right? So you're gonna have a damage drop off after so much distance, but with explosive payload, you get an extra hit of damage on top of that. So the actual drop off is a lot less than what you might have if you're just not using explosive payload. That's why a lot of people like it. It's not because it makes things go boom. It's because your damage drop off is lessened to a major extent. A lot of these are Season of the Witch. Season of the Witch and Season of the Wish. Season those two had some really good ones. Season of Defiance did too. So I really highly suggest if you don't have a lot of time, make sure you hit at least those three ones. And I think that if you get those three ones at least, you're gonna be okay because most of the weapons are good, and I think a lot of them are viable. Unlike some seasons, like Season of the Lost, like none of those weapons are really good. Um, Maybe like the Vex arc submachine gun has volt shot, and you can have enhanced volt shot. But besides that, you really don't want to focus on that. You don't want to spend money on crafting those weapons. Your simulation, right? So we have this one. It's a rocket launcher. It's dope. It's a strand rocket launcher. If you're into using strand, I highly suggest this. I like using it. It's dope. Anyways, when you're looking at rocket launchers, off-war perks are more important than a lot of other guns. So first, we're gonna look at volatile launch. I like this a lot. Some people don't. I do. Basically, what it does, it enhances velocity of the rocket and increases blast radius. So for that, I think this thing really goes because you're gonna want to kill as many enemies as possible with this powerful weapon because you're going to be using power weapons somewhat throughout the campaign if you're doing it legendary, even with teammates, to take out ads. Very few people are really good enough to like not use any special or power heavy weapons to take out ads, and they just use primary. Very few people do that. It's going to take longer and potentially just kill you if you're not willing to take out the enemy quick enough, and there's nowhere to take safe cover. So you're gonna want to have something that hits fast, hits hard, and when you have volatile launch and a not grenade launcher, and when you have volatile launch and a rocket launcher, that definitely helps. And then we're looking at, I don't know if you want high velocity rounds. You want impact casing. This definitely helps too. When you get a direct hit, it's an increase of damage. So we're looking at boss damage, things like that. And you might want to put like a boss spec on this. You're increasing your damage, and every little bit helps. There's going to be times where you're just getting by the skin of your teeth, and you want to just have as maximum amount of damage as possible. I'm going to go with Impulse Amplifier. A lot of people are kind of like, this was kind of hot back in the day, and it's not really anymore, but I really like it. It increases velocity and reload speed. Reload speed is very important when it comes to rocket launchers. Some really are really slow, and if you're doing that and you're trying to do boss damage, it's not a good look. You want to be able to reload those things too, and that comes to the next perk I'm picking up actually is bipod. Some people might like explosive light because it's gonna actually give you more damage, but I like bipod because if you have some form of heavy scavenger on, you're gonna be able to pick up more. So if you're launching 2 rockets instead of just one like boosted rocket, you're gonna do more damage with the two rockets. And this is just off one reload. I would actually maybe pick bipod over explosive light. Usually impulse amplifier and explosive light go together. Most people, if you see anything, even when it grenade launchers, people run these two together. So when you look at field prep with bipod, you're not really getting damage boost, but you have like more reserves, so that's more rockets you're able to send out faster because you have for every two rockets they're sending out, you're sending out four, which is pretty good. You're able to increase reload speed when crouching. So if you're just kind of ducking out, blast those two rockets, get back in, like take a knee, crouch, reload, and then pop back in and pack back out. That's a really good strategy just to kind of get off damage. I like hatchling. I wouldn't suggest hatchling or like that. I know it's fun and stuff like that, or frenzy. No, I wouldn't suggest that either. But yes, either field prep and bipod or impulse amplifier and explosive light. You can't go wrong with that with impact casing and volatile launch. All right, so we have then precipice, and it is a strand freaking sword. So I mean, if you're running strand, this is good to have because I guess you see it already. It does have hatchlings, right? I don't suggest doing sword damage for like boss DPS. But for yellow bars, stronger yellow bars, maybe some of these new archetypes of like new enemy types are gonna be able to get in close and put them down quickly. And there's definitely instances where that helps. So having a sword always helps. So you might want to look into maybe crafting this one. With swords, there's two kind of philosophies of swords. There's the increased ammo and there's increased damage when it comes to the first slot. If you're looking for both, you might want to get like Temper's Edge, but you get like +1 impact. It's not really that big a deal. Really, so what we're looking at, I would say either get Hungry Edge, right? You're getting +20 ammo capacity, or Honed Edge. I would not suggest Jagged Edge because it does have a little bit more. How much is Honed? It does have double the impact, which is +4. I mean, swords hit pretty hard, but you're not losing any ammo compared to Jagged Edge when you're losing ammo capacity. And I kind of lean more on the side of having more ammo. I know some people don't, but there's always some instances where like if I have a sword and like crowded by like red borders and yellow borders, a sword is really good just to get out of that situation and maybe run away and find cover someplace else. All right, swordsman guard. You're probably gonna want that. But also, I mean, here's the thing about like this. This perks. It really depends on if you use guard. I don't ever use guard with this sword, so. But if you go ahead and use it, you want to get this swordsman guard. Now we're gonna look at the third slot. So depending on what you're going to use this for, and like I said, I don't suggest using this for boss DPS. So either you want to get Tireless Blade, or you're going to get ammo refunded back to you. So if you're looking for something like Honed Edge or something like that, this is good. Or Unrelentless, which I would probably run on this thing. This, when you, like I said before, you're trapped and the people are coming at you. Killing people with this like triggers health regen, and hey man, that's the name of the game when you're playing legendaries or even just like higher end stuff like GM's mastered raids. Everyone's always so concerned about just rushing down enemies and the bosses, but really the real way to kind of survive, especially if you're not super adept at the game, is just to keep health coming in and being safe. Being safe is most important. There's no timetable on Final Shape to complete each mission, so you want to make sure that you have health regen, because a major thing is, man, if you die in the middle of a battle, you're gonna have to go all the way back and redo it, which is gonna cost you more time than if you just had a lot of health regen things like equipped with you, and you're able just to find cover and slowly pick away at some of the bosses, especially things like tormentors and things like that, because we know they're a pain in the butt. And then this one, it's a toss up for me. Some people like counterattack. I don't really like it. Chain reaction is definitely good. You're gonna have like explosions with your elemental thing. That's good. And if you're really running that kind of strandy or going all in on strand, which I don't think most people are going to be doing in this campaign, but maybe early on you might want to put hatchlings on just to help you clear some of these ads. I don't suggest, I said again, for um, using swords for boss damage when harder content. That's just me. Bosses hit too hard and you might get stomped twice and die. So it's not really worth it. You might want to sit back and just use like rocket launchers or grenade launchers. The Rocketeur, a Rankateur. I still don't know how to say this stupid thing. This one is from the season of Defiance, and this one is probably one of the first ones you might want to try to get. Like if you're saving up and you're able to get it, I would get this one first. It's a primary. It's pretty good. Look, he has a 48%. It's stasis, and the thing about here's the thing. Whenever you have a primary that's craftable and you're able to get good crowd control with it, that is a godsend. So, what we're looking at flexible string. It kind of gives you a boost. It gives your draw time faster, and it gives your handling speed faster. It says decrease accuracy, but I don't really care about that, really. I mean, I'm not gonna lie. Elastic stream, some people might use just to get this out faster. Some people like that. I as long as it's getting out like at a good tempo, I don't care. Some people like to whip like bows. And if you're a whipper, you might want to get compact arrow shaft. Reload is an actual part of the animation of the bow. So you let the arrow goes. Reload is its own separate timer, and drawback is its own separate timer. So if you're a whipper, reload draw time is what you're looking for. Compact arrow shaft, and of course, archer's tempo. Draw time reduces at every precision hit. This thing's still whipping out. Here's and you know what? I agree with all those things. But here's what people might actually depart. And honestly, you can't go wrong with any one of these things. But I do have one I would suggest over the other. So the big three ones are gonna be explosive head, right? So like what I said about the damage drop off, explosive head is very similar. It gives you extra hit of damage, so you're not losing damage from a far distance, which is good on bows because bows go pretty far. Successful warm up. This is for those whippers. The more you kill, the faster your bow reloads and draws. So no, it's just draws. So the faster your bow draws. But if you're looking for hard content, this right here, headstone, is where you want to be at, man. Precision final blows spawn stasis crystals at the victim's location. Why would you want that? Suppose a horde of people are coming at you, a horde of whatever, Taken or whatever, I don't care. You pop one of them with precision, that horde, that ice wall goes up, that horde stops. You have time to reassess the situation, get back into some cover, and maybe like boom, toss a nade over the top of it. You're able to kind of control the playing field a little bit more. Trust me, I remember me playing Witch Queen, just legendary myself, and I got through it pretty quickly just because I was using Eyes Luna with Headstone, and I was trying different combinations. You know, I was using just like the new weapons, and that Eyes Luna with Headstone really was just carrying me through the whole thing. As long as I had this, as long as I had Headstone, I was able to keep moving forward. And no matter what other weapons I was using, linears, rockets, shotguns, as long as I had headstone, I was able to control the field. And I think that's very important. And that this would be my number one. So I don't know how you feel about any of like the first and second slot. I mean, most people are like kind of want to draw, fast, but I would pick headstone. This warm up's good if you like want to do PvP. Or explosive head's good. You want to do PvP. Good shot straight PvP. Shoot to loot. I guess I forgot about that. Some people like that. You shoot the ammo or the orbs and it picks it up, which is good when you're like undercover and you're like in a boss fight and like there's some ammo and you just shoot it and it goes to your actual person. It's not the worst, but I wouldn't take it. The rig knot. I don't know how to say that. I looked these up too, dude. I like the pronunciation because I'd be like, oh, it's the regent, even though I know it's not it. So this is another grenade launcher. Season of Defiance is void, but like when we get prismatic, we're getting mixable subclasses. So this might be for you. The two things I am looking at, and when it comes to first slot, is probably linear compensation. But honestly, volatile launch is the way you want to go. Increased blast radius, and that's how it matters to me. Everything else is slightly decreased, but that increased blast radius is where it is at. I talked about it before. I don't feel like I talk about it again. Augmented drum. You're getting a heavy, big drum. If you're a little more accurate, maybe you might look at spike grenades. I'm probably going to go with this. I'm going to hit drum and high explosive ordnance, which is another thing. The only thing I don't like about it is that it decreases magazine size. And when it comes to grenade launchers, the variation of magazine size is so long and wide. I like to keep them up a little bit higher. So, like a magazine for a grenade launcher could be from like anywhere from 5 to like 16. I like to be more on that 16 end because the more you could put out, the more damage you could do. And I think the damage you could put out more is gonna be a little bit more than it's gonna be a little bit more worth than increased blast radius. Repulsive break is good, but I don't know if they're gonna have void shields or anything like that. And Business Assassin, definitely good. It overflows the tank, so I might suggest this one. I would say I suggest this if you really know how to use it. If you're really versatile with the perk, I'd pick Envious Assassin. But if you're not, auto-loading holster, bro. Auto-loading holster is where you want to be. Why do you say that? Because there's plenty of times where I dump out a clip and I store it away because I'm in the middle of a fight and I totally forget about it. And I'm in a dire situation and I don't have it reloaded. Auto-loading holster helps you out with that. Or you're doing boss DPS, maybe you're doing a grenade. You're not having to waste the time to reload. You can switch off to a specialty weapon. Maybe you're running like a RB, or maybe you're running like a Fourth Horseman or whatever. By the time you unload that clip, the auto-loading holster should have reloaded the grenade launcher and you can pull it back out and there's no damage drop off from reloading because there it is. We talked about explosive light before, and explosive light, when you pick up Ore to Power, it just makes your gun stronger, gets you more blast radius. I would suggest doing this. You're going to get more explosive damage up to like 60%. I don't know if, oh man. Yeah, 60% explosive for grenade launcher, so it's really, really, really good. So I would definitely suggest that. Destabilizing rounds, I would say yes, but because it implies like volatile and it actually increases damage to greater length, but I don't, I wouldn't do this. This is more for like, yellow borders and red borders. And yes, there's situations where you're gonna want to use like a grenade launcher on a yellow border. But overall, we're gonna try. I'd like to try to keep my heavy left alone. Yes, there's situations where I have to use it if I'm gonna die. But if I'm not, then if I'm not gonna die, I'm not gonna pull it out. And destabilizing rounds is not going to help me as much with boss damage as much as explosive light. So I would pick explosive light. Scatter signal. This is from the season of the wish, the latest season. This thing might be the best thing smoking, man. All right. So this is a fusion rifle. It's strand. It's nice. It's tight, man. It's good. It's a rapid fire frame. Low key, this is one of like the top 3 or 4 fusion rifles in the game. I might include exotics, but it's up there, man. I'm trying to think. I just thought of merciless, and I was like, but this is definitely a high must have. This might be the second one I suggest you get. So, corkscrew rifling, people like. No, this is a definitive one for me. This is not an option. Small bore, you gotta have it. Increases range, decreases stability. Really, really good. Project infusion. We want to get that. We want to increase the range. That's plus 10. Enhanced battery. Yeah, accelerated coils are fine, but this gun doesn't need accelerated coils. So, I mean, it's good to have. It's good to have. This gun doesn't really need it though. You want to have slice. We don't know what kind of enemies we're having right now, so I think having this gun with slice is important. We're gonna have to do some severs. So slice might be the way to go with this one. I'm just saying it right now. I wouldn't think of anything else. Line action, no. Overflow's cool. I like overflow, but that would probably be my second choice. But we don't know what's going on right here. We don't know we're gonna have to sever things like that. So we're gonna pick slice. I like hatchling and I like controlled burst. Adagio is really good. It's really slept on, but I don't like it for like special weapons. I like it for primaries. Like if you get like a auto rifle or a side armored Adagio, that's good. But honestly, let's keep it straight. I would pick hatchling, I'm not gonna lie, or controlled burst. And the last one, which would probably be my third pick, is the impetus. And this is a trace rifle. And it is a trace rifle that is strand. So there's like 2 routes you could go with this. Mainly you're going to try to use this for ad clear. Trace rifles aren't notoriously known for boss damage unless you have like Way Splitter, but there's probably still better options. What we're looking at here is mostly, I think, range and stability. So right back at small bore, I would pick that. Tactile battery. I would say, and then we're gonna go with either tactile battery or enhanced battery. I'll probably go tactile because it does give you a little bit more range increase. And like I said before, name of the game is hit and not be hit. And the best way to do that is to keep your range up. You can pick any one of these 3. I would actually say maybe clown cartridge might be the way to go. But if you know how to use demolitionist, definitely use demolitionist. If you don't know how to use demolitionist, get clown cartridge. Clown cartridge is good. You reload and you get like a varied number of overflowed the ammo. So that's good for that cartridge. And then overflow, of course, if you pick up a special hammer, you're gonna get overflow. I do like clown cartridge, but if you know how to use it, I would probably use demolitionist, honestly. There's too much perks. Overflow is good. But here's the problem with overflow and a little bit harder difficulty things, that if you're trying to use it and there's no ammo around you, you're not going to benefit from overflow. Now, if you're just running strikes or something like that, so normal strikes do overflow, boom, doing raids, but things like legendary campaigns, which is, I would say, about mastered level, strike level, you're gonna want to use something else. So if you don't know what demolitionist is, it's just like an OG boss perk. Um, Grenade ammo refills a magazine with a 3-second cooldown. That is the main thing. And you feed into your grenade ability. So you can make builds where final kills grant you grenade ability, and then with demolitionist, kills with the weapon grants you grenade energy. So you're kind of building up your grenade energy a lot quicker. And then when you use grenade energy, you throw your grenade, it reloads. There you go. So for the fourth slot, all for one is good, but we're crafted, so we don't have to settle for something that is good. But if you're looking for something better, you're gonna want Killing Tally. Killing Tally, it's a buff and it increases damage all the way up to 30%. You're gonna want this. After every kill, you get a buff. Like the same as this, right? It's just this one you hit 3 separate enemies. And it has a timer. This one don't have a timer. You keep the kill as long as his weapon's out. You're gonna keep that buff, and it's gonna do work. So if you want to do Kill and Tally, I would say, I guess a popular one's Overflow. I would pick, if you know how to use Demolitionist right, and you have a grenade build, Demolitionist. If not, Overflow. I would say Overflow, because you don't have to reload, so you can keep your tally going, your beat buff up a little bit longer just by running by something. So that might help, but it's just risky though. I would stick with Killing Tally, Demolitionist, or Headstone, Clown Cartridge, Headstone, Overflow, Headstone, Demolitionist. This weapon has a lot of different good perks that really just depend on your playstyle. And I would say, whatever it is, this is my third pick for it. Like I said before, Headstone is so important for just keeping that field under control. And especially with the trace rifle, it's even better than a primary because you're doing more damage. And a trace rifle, you're kind of locking on. You don't have to just like keep like shooting single shots. You just lock on and you follow the head. Boom, Headstone. You're looking good. If I was to pick, I would honestly pick Clown Cartridge and Headstone. But that's just the way I like to play. I don't like having to build up grenade energy, and I don't like to have to run out in the middle of the field. I'm a hunter, and I play Void Hunter, and I go invisible, and I still don't like having to run out in the middle of the battlefield just to grab some ammo. I don't like doing that. So I would pick Clown Cartridge to get the most ammo for the most bang for my buck. That's just me, though. Less reloading. I do see slideways, too, which could be work. It just depends on your playstyle. Like maybe a Titan might like slideways. I'm not exactly sure. If you like to slide a lot, use slideways. But besides that, I don't know. This weapon's really good and it has a lot of great perks. And I just suggest you look at it. And this might be your either. If you have any of the other first two ones I picked, this one should be really high up. But all these guns that I picked out right here, they're doable and they will objectively help you complete the campaign a little bit easier than just not having them. Like, I would say if you're not completing Pantheon and it's only going to get harder, it's probably better to spend your time trying to get these red borders and preparing. Look, I know Pantheon, it seems like it's really, really like, it seems prestigious, right? I would probably run it, but I'm actually just not going to. I don't care. I think, get a little bit more red borders, but I'm trying to spend some time away from Destiny 2 before I dive all the way back into it for a while. But if you're going to spend time in the game, I don't suggest, if you're not completing Pantheon, to just keep running it and running it and running it. No one's going to care about the title too much from now. Trust me, Trust me, no one's gonna care about the stupid banner too much from now. What's important is to increase the success of the campaign and be raid ready, man. You can take these weapons into the raid and be okay. You'll be fine with the contest mode in the raid. I think that's more important than trying to get some arbitrary title that Bungie just made up just to keep people happy and kind of keep people from complaining about the delay. And I'm not hating on Pantheon. I'm just saying that this getting these red borders is definitely more important than that if you're not completing Pantheon. And honestly, the loot you're getting, like if and honestly, the loot that Pantheon is dropping right now isn't as good as people might think. They're adept versions of some of these weapons, but the craftable versions of like you can't tell me there's a fusion rifle that's available that's adept that is better than scatter signal that's crafted. There's not one. Um, or there isn't even a bow that's better than the Rankator that's adept. I don't even think there's a grenade launcher. You see what I'm saying? Like these weapons are just as valuable and they're worth your time way more than just trying to get like some dumb version of adept weapons that are kind of old and they're craftable anyways. Like the craftable versions are just as good as the adept version. That's why everybody was kind of angry about craftables because the adept versions weren't as good, and they have to revamp the adept versions with the enhanced perks and stuff. And I'm gonna keep it real. So I have all but one of the raid exotics, which is condition of finality, which is probably the best one, which is dumb. But all these raid exotics, man, maybe Vex Mythic class, but there's definitely substitutions for it. But a lot of these raid exotics aren't that good. Like you're not picking Eyes of Tomorrow over a Gallhorn. You're not picking Graviton Lance. I mean, let me rephrase that. Like you're not picking Collective Obligation over Graviton Lance. Like they're basically almost every raid exotic that is available in the raids. I would say some of the ones you could get like with spoils are pretty good. But even they have replacements like Teraba. You can use Callus Mini Tool. A lot of these got replacements, man. A lot of these are just kind of for show. I'm not gonna lie. Um, so I wouldn't even worry about that. Worry about these red borders. I know it's not as glamorous, but just gonna make your time in the game so much easier than just farming Pantheon, which you might not even finish, especially as the weeks go on, and you're missing opportunities to get red borders, and you're just farming Pantheon. Now, if you're good, you probably have all the raid weapons anyway, so and you probably have a lot of these red borders. So this really isn't for you. This is for people who are kind of like mid-level to casual level. This I would say more focus on the red borders. And I don't want to say low level like mean or anything like that. It's just like you don't have a like super a long time in the game. When I say super long time, I mean like some people got like 8,000 hours. You might have like 300 or something like that. And Pantheon's hard. It's hard. Uh, that's it. These are the things I think you should probably be chasing. Working for or towards. I mean, if you like some other things, go ahead and get them. But like I said before, we have like a month away, less than a month away till final shape, and resources are limited. You can only collect so much unless you just start grinding endlessly, which is kind of dumb. Um, so yeah, these are my picks. If you like something else, put it down in the comments. Let me know. But until then, I'll see you guys later. Of course, there's gonna be some videos before the final shape. But until then, peace out, y'all.